So it is Tuesday of Holy Week, and I'm standing in the front yard of the church manse. And this Lent we have been focusing on a reflection on loving our neighbor. It's been a lovely theme to look at as Jesus has that conversation in the temple with one of the teachers of the law, and describes what he says is the greatest commandment: to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I just find it so uncanny how, after coming back from one of these reflections where I've just gone on and on about loving your neighbor and how loving your neighbor is Jesus' call on your life, and you should love your neighbor, even the difficult ones, when I came home and found a random stranger's car parked in my driveway. They had just parked there. You see, we live in quite a busy street and close to a railway station, and that parking often gets full and people are forced to park right outside our house. Not quite illegally, but definitely inconveniently. And this was the first time someone had been brazen enough to park in our yard. They had parked in our property. And I got angry. Without being able to help myself, anger definitely rose. Who does this person think they are? You can't just come and park in my space without asking. That's not fair. I felt like I really needed to teach them a lesson. So I was angry, but I think I was also afraid. Fear was definitely part of the mix too. And I could feel myself just in a moment spiraling out of control. What if everyone thinks they can just park in my yard? Where will I park? And if I've got all these random strangers on my property, is my home safe? Now, that might be a second of overreaction, and I'm glad to report that the person left eventually without any incident. But doesn't it feel like the world's in a bit of a spiral like that at the moment? There's a lot of consolidating going on, protecting what we have, from individuals' yards to neighborhoods and churches and companies and countries. We're all reinforcing our boundaries, upgrading security, crystallizing definitions about who's out and who's in. And I don't like what it's doing to me. On balance, I feel like it's making me more and more selfish, and it's making me more and more skeptical, and it's getting harder to trust others. So back to my parking problem. What should I do with these parking thieves? Well, following that spiraling convention, perhaps I should put up a big "this is private parking" sign, or maybe I should get a camera or two. Or I could go onto Amazon and buy one of those tire clamps or something. Maybe I should install a gate and just close off the property completely to everybody. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I could be even more aggressive than that. Hide out and catch them red-handed, Caught you! Happy Easter, you parking thief. I don't know. But even I know things like that would just escalate, and I don't want war. Or do I? I don't know. Then, in the midst of all of this, I remember that it is Holy Week, in which Jesus says, love your neighbor. And it feels like that might be the beginning of a way out of the spiral. Now, I know no one should be taken advantage of and treated like a doormat, and I really don't think that welcoming abuse is what Jesus is getting at when he shares that. After all, let's face it, the person who parks without permission is not being very neighborly themselves. But it does get me thinking. people really battle to find parking in my street. I have an extra space available that I don't need and no one ever uses. Who's my neighbor? Maybe I can get you thinking. What privileges and resources has God blessed you with? Who is your neighbor?